to sign the condolence book for Her Late Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II. That's when we last met. So this is the final, probably, meeting I'm having with the key political parties. So I've been meeting all the presidential candidates and all the party chairmen. So it's very helpful to me to be able to hear directly from you, and I'll ask you a few questions in a minute. But the basic points to make in this introduction is that obviously the UK doesn't have a vote in this election. What we want to see, along with our colleagues in the international community, is a credible, safe, peaceful election where the people of Nigeria are free to choose who they want to represent them at presidential level, at the various governor levels, and so on. So that's our stake in this. And the reason it does matter to the UK is because of the importance of the partnership. The UK and Nigeria obviously have a long, deep history. Whatever ups and downs, we're bound together, almost as one people. And this election really matters. So, for example, recently I know the president was in the US for the Africa Leaders Summit. It was noted there, and it's noted by our senior politicians, including our Prime Minister, that the election in Nigeria, the eyes of the world will be on it, because you're the largest democracy in Africa, and you're a country that's been stuck with it since 1999, and each election has seemed to us to get a little bit better. It's not been without challenges and setbacks, but the general direction of travel has been exactly in the right one for strengthening Nigeria's democracy and representation. And this is in a region where, unfortunately, there has been quite a lot of backsliding on democracy. You're in quite an unstable region with coups and presidents who've been clinging on to power for longer than they should. So Nigeria is to be commended, I think, for its democratic journey. And as I said, it matters. Well done. So it matters to the region, and it matters to the world. Nigeria is a very important partner for us. And a stable, democratic Nigeria where people feel their vote reflects their preferences doesn't mean they get the candidate they want, but it means that, as a whole, Nigeria has elected what the people as a whole want. It means that Nigeria hopefully will be able to progress in its numerous challenges on security front, on the economic front, and so on. Whoever inherits the presidential ticket will inherit quite a number of challenges. But we, the international community, want to be with you step by step, particularly the UK. So hopefully that just gives you a sense of why I'm here. And what I'd be really interested to hear from you and your colleagues is, how do you see the situation now, as we're very close now on the security side, on the electoral process side? Do you have confidence in the BVAS system and so on? Is there anything worrying you? Is there anything we can help with to ensure in these final weeks that we get to the point where INEC can run the election peacefully, where the National Peace Accord, all the principles that have been set out there, can be adhered to? So I'd be very interested to hear from you how you see things at the moment.
Well, I want to especially welcome you to our office. I want to appreciate your efforts so far towards ensuring entrenchment of democracy in Nigeria. We are very desirous to have credible and people-oriented presidents come the election of next year. We believe very strongly that if the process leading to the election is free, fair, and credible, then of course there will obviously be peace in the country. Believe that if the process is compromised, if the process is not fair, then of course there won't obviously be peace. We appreciate the fact that the country has been going through numerous challenges as a result of insecurity. We've also had a lot of issues with the economy. Today, people are poor. Majority of our people are poor. They are hungry. Even the Bureau of Public Enterprise, the Bureau of Statistics, recently in their recent figures estimated 130 million Nigerians as poor out of the 230 million Nigerians. And the people generally believe that the numerous challenges that we have in the country is as a result of poor leadership. It's as a result of cumulative leadership failures over the years. And the people are therefore determined to have a change of government. And the only opportunity they can do that is this opportunity that is afforded every 4 years for the people to vote and be able to change leadership. Expectations are therefore very, very high, as you can see, especially among the young people. And going by the figures released by INEC just yesterday, the young people are more in number.
Yes, I saw that. Interesting.
And therefore, young people are desirous to have changes in government. And therefore, the only way we can calm frail nerves is for the process to be free, fair, and credible. I want to say that as we speak today, the Labour Party and its presidential candidate appears to be the most popular candidates among the candidates. We are popular among the youths and the very, very vulnerable in the society. And therefore, we believe that the only way we can have peace is where the process is transparent, the process is open, the process is not skewed, and therefore, whatever will be the outcome, generally people will accept. Our greatest challenge, however, is that the party has been under serious attack. The candidates of the party officials have been under terrible attacks. In Kaduna, for instance, the women leader was killed in Kaura. The husband was also shot. As we speak, the husband is still in the hospital. They have amputated his legs. As we speak, he's still in the hospital.
Sorry to hear that.
We have also lost 2 people in Kaduna. We've lost 1 secretary and another member in Kaduna.
Are you clear who was responsible for those attacks?
Yes, the opposition parties, of course,
But
purely political. Purely political.
But who do you have? Is there anybody arrested? Or? No.
For now, no. And then in Imo, we've also been, one of our senatorial candidates was Linus Okori, was arrested. In fact, they woke me up at about 12 midnight and told me that he was kidnapped, that I needed to save his life by rising to the occasion to make press statement. And that night, we did press statement, and it was all over the place. At about morning, the state's commissioner of police then took responsibility for being responsible for the arrest of Linus Okori. He was there incarcerated for about 40 days, only for the courts to have said that there is no case against him. That same Imo, we have lost 2 other members in the House of Assembly. One was assassinated, and the other one was killed. We've had instances where in Lagos, in Akwa Ibom, in Osun, in Ondo, and several other states where a lot of our members have been subject to various attacks. We've also heard rumor that in places where we are strong, especially in the southeast and south-south, that they are going to, few days to the election, they are going to deploy people to cause trouble, to cause mayhem, to bring out bandits, to scare people from coming out to vote. Apparently, by the time they do that, the process will be compromised. Because if there are threats to lives and property, people will be afraid to come out to vote. And if we have that kind of scenario, it will be very clear that the election is compromised. And so we therefore want to appeal to government and to appeal to you that we must call on government to ensure the safety of lives and properties before and during the election. We have confidence in the fact that the beavers will work because it has been tried in, we have used it, it has been used in Ondo, it has been used in Oshun and the Ekiti. And therefore, we believe that the beavers will work. There are also fears that beavers will not be deployed early enough to areas where we have stronghold. These are all rumors, but we need to put it on record that this is what we've heard. And this we put INEC on notice that this is what is being speculated. And the reason for putting it on the table is for us to put it in the public domain, to also bring it to your notice at the level of the international level, to be on notice. Because if we are looking at free, fair, and credible election can be compromised if ballot papers, beavers, and all other materials that we need to work in those elections did not get to the places where they are needed. But generally, we believe that INEC is credible. We believe that INEC is determined this time around to be able to conduct free, fair, and credible elections. So far, there's no reason for us to doubt the credibility of INEC to conduct free, fair, and credible elections. But some of these fears, we believe that if they are taken care of, we are likely to have a credible election. We also want to use this opportunity to call on the security agencies because a lot will depend on what they are able to do in order to guarantee security. One of our greatest threats is vote buying, like we saw in Oshun and the Oshun and the Ekiti election. The security agencies were used to perpetuate buying of votes. It's the greatest threat to democracy in Nigeria. Because when you compromise, when you buy votes, or you pay and get the votes of the people, you generally compromise the process. And Labour Party is the most vulnerable to this. You know, we've never been in government. We've never had stolen funds. We've never had stolen resources. The money we have deployed, or the resources we have deployed in this election, are those that are contributed by members and hard-earned money. And obviously, we are in competition with other political parties who have had people in government, who still have people in government. PDP, for instance, still have people in, still have governors, House of Rep members, Senate, and the rest of them. And APC are those in government who control government at the center. And therefore, they have a lot of influence and they have a lot of money to deploy. And therefore, it's one of the greatest threats and one of our greatest fears that the security agencies must be alive to their responsibility to ensure that money, the use of money, is not deployed in this election. Because if that is done, it will obviously compromise the outcome of the election. So we are using this opportunity to appeal to you and to appeal to our security agencies and security chiefs that they must all work hard to ensure that we stop and prevent people from buying votes, so that we can, for once, have an election that is credible, election that we enjoy the authority of the people, and therefore we have credibility to be able to work for the people. It is pertinent to put on record that the 2023 general election will then become Nigeria. That is because the tensions are high, expectations are very high, and therefore, if the processes are compromised, it will be very difficult to control the frail nerves of the people. For now, these are my few comments. If there are others, I will make them as we interact further. But I want to say that it's over 20 million children out of school in the north. Poverty is more in the north. Insecurity, as we speak today, is more in the north. Even in Castina today, a lot of local government is taken by bandits, and that is the home of the president. So usually it's not about north nor south. It's about to have the capacity to be able to work for the country and reposition it for greatness. And a lot of Nigerians believe that Peter Obi, a presidential candidate, has what it takes in terms of character, in terms of pedigree, in terms of competence, even in terms of age and good health, without sounding modest here. Because the country is faced with numerous challenges, from security to economy to infrastructure, name it, we require somebody who has the good health, who is energetic, and who is strong to be able to face the challenges of the office.
It's a demanding role indeed.
Yes, and so a lot of Nigerians believe that the only person in the political class, in the race, among the 18, is our own presidential candidate. And therefore, it has put us in an advantage position to win the election. And that's why wherever we go, you see a lot of people, young people, even the elderly, coming out to support our candidate and the party. For instance, of democracy in Nigeria, this is the first time you find people printing banners with their own money. This is the first time you find people organizing rallies for the party and for the candidate with their money. The generational shift from what used to be and what we have today. So we believe, a lot of people believe that our candidate is younger, has the mental energy, has the competence, has the pedigree to be able to drive, to be able to win this election and reposition the country for greatness. We are the only party, and our candidate is the only candidate, that have centered our campaign on issues. Wherever we have gone to campaign, we have concentrated on the issues. Issue of insecurity, issue of hunger, issue of poverty, issue of moving the country from consumption to production, issue of the rule of law, unity of the country, infrastructure, name it. And that's what we have concentrated on. And because we believe that those should be the issues of this campaign. It is only the Labour Party and its candidate. While all others tend to cast aspersions on our candidates, cast aspersions at us, we have refused to join issues. We are focused on the issues and will continue to do that. And that has of CBN on the current monetary policy, because I agree with you totally that it will assist a great deal in curbing vote buying, because right now I saw a mint printed in 2005 in circulation, mint recently. So what does that tell you? It tells you that a lot of our currencies that were kept somewhere are now in circulation and is being withdrawn from the public. So for me, we as a party, we support the policy and we encourage the CBN to continue with the policy and ensure that whatever they can do to ensure that there is no vote buying in this election will be a welcome development. The truth of the matter is that we've seen that the country is not working. And the numerous challenges we've had is because of failed leadership. And you will continue to have failed leadership if the recruitment process is not credible, is compromised. If elections are compromised, it means that people who have capacity, people who have what it takes to lead will never have the opportunity of leading. And that's why, whether you are a governor of CBN, whether you are the president of Nigeria, or whether you are a common citizen, it is incumbent on all of us at this point of our history to ensure that we have free, fair, credible election, so that we can have leaders who will genuinely be able to pursue development of the country. If you have leaders who buy their way to office, it will be very clear that those leaders doesn't have what it takes to lead the country, and we'll be back to square one. And I've said here that if we don't get it right in next month's election, I don't want to sound pessimistic, but it may be very, very difficult for the country. So I support what the CBN governor is doing. I want to call on security agencies that they should provide him with security. I want to call on President Muhammadu Buhari to rise to the occasion and defend citizens who have stood by the country. You know, Okonjo-Iweala also had this problem when they came up with this issue of sanitizing and auditing the subsidy regime in Nigeria. I'm sure that we are all privy to that video of what she went through in an attempt to sanitize the subsidy regime in Nigeria. So perhaps it's part of the price we need to pay for democracy at this time. And you know, a lot of us are paying these prices one way or the other. I've just told you here how we have lost some of our members paying the supreme price for what they believe in, and so on and so forth. So we support it and want to call on all Nigerians, governments, at whatever level, that whatever we need to do to make a democratic process to be better is not too much a sacrifice to make for the country.
Sadly, we've seen over the last 4 years. So on that issue, the key will be to ensure it doesn't prevent people actually getting to polling stations and voting. Okay. And that will be quite a challenge for the security forces and the police, because they'll need to think where to deploy. Because there's one thing managing security for an off-cycle gubernatorial election, and the recent ones have been pretty peaceful, actually. So it's a good signal, but it's obviously much harder when it's nationwide across the country, and that will be some tough decisions for the police and so on. Secondly, there's the sort of insecurity violence around on the actual day of the election. And with the electronic transmission of votes, where it's much harder to interfere with the vote once it's gone through. So I do think we need to be live to different kinds of tactics and techniques, and you've mentioned some of them. The one we've seen also in other countries, actually, sort of like stop people coming out at all, sort of intimidate them to not leave their home. So I think, again, the security forces will need to think smartly about how they anticipate and manage those kind of. So, for example, in an area where it's very close, for example, rather than deploying your security forces where it's very clear which candidate's going to win, if gubernatorial, worry about where the tensions are and deploy. So that would be my thoughts there. And then I think the third bit of the thing, insecurity violence to worry about, as you've mentioned yourselves, is violence post-election, if the elections are not seen to be credible. And as I've mentioned that in my closing remarks, how important it will be to signal to, as political leaders, to your people, assuming the election is credible, we have to accept the results. So I'm anticipating that. In terms, finally, of what we do, as I mentioned before, we'll be on the ground monitoring ourselves as part of the international community, so eyes on. We've got the visa lever, and that will apply. That's not designed to be used against any individual political party. It's generically against individuals. You could be, individuals who have just been paid thugs, or it could be very senior people in parties, or agents of the political, police, whatever themselves. So we're looking out for incitement of violence and actual violence, and as I say, it's a signal at this stage to prevent it by signalling that the visa regime can be used. So that's how we will play our part, hopefully, in trying to ensure the elections are secure on the day.
Thank you so much.